Order online at picassospizza.net.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to this Trainwreck Sports Podcast, where we are here to pay the bills. Jake Micah, joined by Mike Bunt and AJ Sapolsky. Carson Hayek will be joining in a short while, but we are here to break down a huge Bills win on Sunday in New Jersey over the New York Jets, 30-10, and preview a quick turn. We got a quick turnaround this week, Thursday Night Football, hosting the Miami Dolphins. But let's start with Sunday, and let's go back and look at the Sunday performance. The Bills win 30-10. Let's start with Mike. What was your first impression, and how are you feeling today after a impressive, comprehensive, I would say, Bills victory on Sunday?
Yeah, how can you not be feeling good about just the team as a whole? You know what that was, Jake? That was impressive, complementary football. It's a term that NFL coaches love. They love that complementary football. It's a phrase I love. You know who doesn't love it? Fans and media analysts. But we saw the Bills dominate in all the phases of the game. They were great on offense, running the ball. Maybe it wasn't the pass-heavy game that people like out of an MVP quarterback, but amazing run game against a good Jets defense. Impressive defensive game. Really only allowed 3 points if you want to just skip past the garbage time touchdown with Tyrod Taylor in the game. And then even special teams. You got a brand new kicker. I know he's 41 years old, the second oldest player in the league, but he nailed all of his kicks. And then kickoff coverage was pretty damn good too for the most part. So complete game, impressive performance, what you love to see against a lesser Jets team on the road week 2 of the season.
Yeah, I can't agree more with Mike's points there. I think I'll just go a little bit of a different route and talk specifically about what I liked. I really do think that the potential for Joey Bosa and what he could be for this team. I mean, 7 pressures on I think it was 15 pass rush snaps. He was just mightily impressive. He was winning multiple ways, right? Speed. He used a nice swing move on a tight end that he talked about where that wasn't the sack, but he made a nice swing move to get, a nice pressure and really affect Fields. But I thought he played really well. There were times where he didn't set the edge, and I think that's something he does have to work on in the run and in the pass. Sometimes he gets a little bit too aggressive, and it allows quarterbacks to scramble or running backs to get outside. But I really like what I've seen from Joey Bosa from a pure pass rush perspective and just the havoc plays he's created. 3 forced fumbles already, 1 obviously recovered, but that was a big play for them. The offense goes down. They get the benefit of a Josh Allen roughing the passer penalty where he did get hit in the helmet, but he did his little acting where it seemed, he threw his head back a little bit, the roughing the passer, to keep that drive alive. But they scored 7, get the ball back, and that's kind of really where I felt it was over. But I really like what I've seen from Joey Bosa. I think, and Mike talked to me about it a couple of years ago, I needed to see more, but James Cook, I think, to me, is a top 5 running back in the league. That run that he had was, unreal. The jump cut again, jukes out 3 Jets defenders, just unreal balance and vision there. So I think James Cook, right before our eyes, is becoming, a really important player in this Bills offense and something that they can rely on in January, which they've never really had with a Josh Allen. So I think James Cook's really important. And then overall, just the pure domination response from the defense. I thought Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp. Cole Bishop played a little bit dirtier, but I think that's good for him. I think he does need to fly around, get a little more physical as a tackler and lay more hits just to get more reps, let the body loose a little bit, get more content and relaxed in the defense. Matt Milano, question mark going forward, but at this point, I feel like this is his last season in Buffalo regardless, just because of the contract and his age and his injury history. And I think Dorian Williams, I like him, and I think there is some room for him to grow in pass coverage, but overall I like him. So Matt Milano is something to monitor. But, yeah, it was complete domination. The defense responded well. Offense did what they did, another 30-point game. And, the Jets stink. Justin Fields, inconsistent. Breece Hall was a no-show after having a dominant week 1. So it was a really good overall performance. Zion Logue stepped in. Fred Oliver played well. And it was again, dominant win and just what I think Bills fans hope for on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was we saw a lot of crazy takes leading up to this game. I think we posted a couple of them. Rex Ryan. I mean, not that Rex Ryan is like the authority on football voices or anything like that, but a lot of people concerned with especially the Bills' run defense and how they'd respond to this. And we talked about it a lot last week. Like, listen, the threat of Fields and everything else is not the same as Lamar pushing on them, especially even Derrick Henry with the success he's had. But just like you said, physicality is really what impressed me. And you brought up Cole Bishop, you brought up the D-line and everything else. The D-line and what they were able to do with the physicality and just kind of dominating at the line of scrimmage, getting pushed into the backfield, blowing up plays before they even started for Breece Hall in the run game and everything else. And then once the Jets were behind in that game, it was always going to be really tough for them to come back in that. But offensively too, the physicality from the offensive line. I mean, it was a lackluster pass blocking performance in this game. There were a lot of times where Allen was under pressure and Allen was scrambling a little bit more than you would like to see. But in the run game, specifically Spencer Brown and Osiris Torrance, just moving people. And honestly, Jackson Hawes and Dawson Knox too at the tight end position. Like the Bills, it's the balance, Mike, that we've talked about to make this team effective. And we've gone back and forth, just trying to figure out what their game plans are be week to week. But the thing is, they can kind of do whatever they think they need to do against teams. And they have the identity is that they are adaptable and that they can play all these different games. And I think that the Jets were ready for Allen, right? Like the Jets had a game plan to slow the Bills down in the passing game. They took away the middle of the field, much like the Ravens did last week through the air. But the Bills were like, okay, then we're just going to lean on James Cook and this offensive line as a weapon again. And it was a build on from last year with the offensive line where so many games last year were just able to lean on teams. And even if it wasn't happening as much late in games, they were able to break some big runs and do everything else. But really in this game, the physicality started from drive one, running the ball. And that's just demoralizing, especially when you're a Jets team who knows that your quarterback is limited in trying to come back in these scenarios. What were you most impressed by offensively? Was it the offensive line? Was it James Cook? Was it what was your biggest takeaway for what they can build on going forward into the season?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest takeaway is James Cook is an unbelievable running back, which isn't really saying much because most of us already knew that already. Hence why he got a nice contract extension. But that second touchdown run where he was juking left and right, and then his explosion to get to the outside and take it to the house, that's next level stuff. There's not many running backs in the NFL that would have made that even more than a 5-6 yard gain, much less a 45+ yard touchdown. And his yards over expected, I think on Sunday alone was like around 47. So a third of his yards in the game were basically his own creation, which tells you how valuable he is. They were comparing Kyron Williams to James Cook in yards above expected. Kyron Williams really just gets what he's expected to in LA. He puts up good numbers, but doesn't really generate more. James Cook gives the Bills a lot more yardage than what even their offensive line creates. And his 0 to 60 motor really is a weapon. I don't know if you can say the Bills have an explosive passing game. Yeah, they put up a lot of yards. They put up touchdown passes. But when you think about Bills 35, 40+ yard plays, what do you think of right now? You think James Cook and then maybe Josh Allen every once in a while doing a freak improvisational thing. But it's mostly James Cook at this point because he's the most consistent, explosive player on the team. So that was a really good sign for me. The offensive line, we all know the offensive line is solid. I don't want to say they're one of the best in the league, but they're definitely a good above average unit. No point talking about Josh. We all know what he is. I was glad that he was able to come back and kind of settle down after what looked like a broken nose because he did have a shaky start. If we're going to be real, the intentional groundings, the both of them that he had, those are kind of inexcusable for a veteran quarterback. Like he should know better than that. And he did have a couple of rough moments early in the game, but eventually comes back, gets a nice completion streak. And it got to the point where the Bills had the game such in hand. They knew that the Jets offense wasn't going to do anything, where they really just were like, you know what, we're not going to expose them to anything. We're not going to give away our passing playbook. We're just going to run the ball and we're going to cruise to a victory. And then looking at the defensive side, AJ already kind of took away some of my points. But how can you not be impressed by this defense after what happened week one? I know we called the Jets the Temu Ravens, but the Jets just a week ago scored 32 points against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I don't know how good the Pittsburgh defense is. Historically, they're great. They struggled against Seattle, so now that's 2 weeks in a row that they've had bad performances. But let's be real. No Taron Johnson, no Ed Oliver. second half for long stretch, no Matt Milano. And what did the Bills do on defense? They just dominated. The rookies came in. They took care of business. They stopped a good running back in Breece Hall. Passing-wise, the Jets were completely lost. Justin Fields had, 27 yards passing the entire game? Now, I know he had a couple passes that were off the mark that were his own fault, not the Bills' defense creating them. But even look at the corner blitzes on rundowns, the run blitzes that the Bills had with Christian Benford stopping a play for a 10-yard loss. Amazing play by him that probably could have gotten a big gain if he doesn't make that. Trey White with a nice play in the backfield on a run blitz. And this is what Sean McDermott doesn't get credit for enough. A lot of Bills fans will look at the Bills defense and they'll see a team against the Jets or a similar team. And they'll be like, well, the Bills just got gashed by the Baltimore Ravens. How are they going to stop the Jets who also can run the ball effectively? And this is where everybody, and Rex Ryan fell for this so bad. It's amazing that an NFL head coach, a former NFL head coach, could be so far off the mark with his analysis. When McDermott sees a team that is a very good run team, but lacks a quarterback that he respects, what McDermott typically does is goes all in on stopping the run. So everybody's like, what are they going to do? They can't stop the run. They let Derrick Henry run all over them. Run blitzes, focus on stopping the run, make this below average quarterback beat us through the air. And what happens? You get a couple stops early. You force the quarterback into third and longs, and then you're already up 10-13. They have to air it out. Game's essentially over at that point. McDermott was a masterclass in defense in this game, and he's not going to get any credit because he went up against the Jets offense, but that was a great rebound game. We need more consistent games like this going forward to prove that this isn't just a one-game thing. And then eventually we're going to have to see it against better offenses like Kansas City and Cincinnati and Philadelphia and so forth. But encouraging and then really just the last thing I have to really say about the players. You mentioned Joey Bosa. Like, is he not the signing of the offseason for this team? We still got a long time to go to see like what it ends up turning out to be, including playoffs and late season. Joey Bosa, I'm going to say this right now, and people will probably say this may be a little bit exaggeration. He's the best pass rusher the Bills have had during the Sean McDermott era. Outside of the 11-game stretch that Von Miller had when he first came to Buffalo, there's not one pass rusher that can do what Joey Bosa can do. He can do it with physicality. He can do it in a lot of different levels. Who knows if we're going to be able to see it for an entire season? But this is why they took the gamble on a one-year deal, because he has the ability to completely change games. And if he can play like that against the Kansas Cities, against the Philadelphias and the other top teams in the AFC come playoff time, the Bills will have a chance to win a Super Bowl.
Absolutely. AJ, how are you feeling about Joey Bosa so far?
Yeah, I love Joey Bosa. I already mentioned what he brings. And I think that the Bills, their heavy rotation, I think benefits him at this point in his career because he can remain fresh. And he is a player that I think loves being here. I mean, you see even the clip today by NFL, him walking off the field, you could just see the joy that he has playing with this Bills team. And I think a lot of players, Elijah Moore said that today, how close this team is, and Joshua Palmer and how close this team is. So I think a lot of guys just come here because they know that the culture established here is, one of the best in the league. And then speaking back to the defense really quick, I think, the Bills did get lucky in some instances. The pass to Isaiah Davis that Fields just threw it like a couple of yards behind him and he had to go back and catch it. I mean, there was a lot of green grass in front of him. I think they missed a lot of potential big passing plays. Fields just didn't recognize the coverage, or he double guessed himself and there were players open. I think that is where Sean McDermott really excels in the NFL, right? As a defensive coach, his defensive scheme is really beneficial against offenses that struggle throwing the ball. I think he does a really good job of that. I think his scheme is beneficial for teams that struggle to pass the ball and have issues because they play a very safe defense, but they're also very aggressive in the same sense. Like they force turnovers still. They don't turn the ball over. Josh Allen's really cleaned that up. Now, the question is, he's yet to prove that he can do it against an elite offense in an elite moment. So that's still to be told down the line. Like Mike said, can that happen against the Chiefs, the Ravens, these top offenses in the AFC, where you're going to have to pick, right? I guess if they're going to play the Ravens again, probably, what are you going to do? Are you going to stick to that game plan that you had the first time you played them, where you allowed 40 points and Josh Allen had to have an all-worldly game just to get it done and miraculous luck down the stretch just to get back in that game and eventually win it? Or do you adjust and make some changes? I'm interested to see how that develops. But again, against these below average and even average offenses, Sean McDermott just watches those teams, those offenses shoot themselves in the foot. The Bills defense always takes advantage of it. They're always on top of things. And with the offense like the Bills, like they have, I think it's special what they do offensively. And one more point offensively, Mike already alluded to it, and he stole my point about the explosive plays. I was going to say it. I think the Bills have yet to really figure out the passing game with their explosive plays. But when you have a player like James Cook, who has the most 40-plus yard touchdown runs in the NFL since 2022 with 5, that's where you're getting your explosive plays from right now for this Bills offense, is running the ball. So I think if they can just figure out how to kind of mesh that with the explosive passing game, and I'm not saying they need an explosive passing game, obviously, because we've seen that they did it really last year without an explosive passing game and could still score. But I think if that really evolutionizes into something more, that this Bills offense could take it to even another level, because I still think they're trying to figure out where these new players fit. Can Joshua Palmer, can they trust him? Like a lot of explosive plays in the pass game, let's be real, come out of Josh Allen running out of the pocket and a player, reruns his route or gets open.
Yeah.
Field. You don't see a lot of just, going through his progressions and the guy's open deep. So I think that's the next development for the Bills offense. But all in all, both sides of the ball, really pleased against an inferior team. They did what they should have done. They didn't get too emotionally high from the Ravens comeback, and they handled business.
So do you have any, to touch on a little bit, AJ, with the passing game, is there any slight concern over what we've seen for basically 7 quarters of football? Because the fourth quarter was immaculate against the Ravens, right? But besides that, it looked rather pedestrian, right?
Yeah, I would say there are some concerns, especially if they're not able to run the ball. Like if they're going to play great teams with great defensive lines and great linebackers that can really, halt the run. James Cook's not going to be doing this every week, right? So I think the Bills do need to show something, at least on film, for other teams, that they have the ability to use their pass catchers in a multitude of ways. Now, Keon Coleman, that OPI on him, questionable call. I get why it was called. He did extend his arm. The player kind of flopped. He was kind of off balance, but still, I think you probably call that every time. I get why some Bills fans thought it was kind of BS, but I agreed with it. They haven't really shown anything. Khalil Shakir, where's he been? I know he's coming off the high ankle sprain, but he really has been, for a guy that is coming off the season he had, he's not, it's crazy that we haven't really seen much of him at all in this offense. So, yeah, I think there is some concern. I think Dawson Knox still, he boggles me sometimes. Drops. Yeah, he boggles my mind sometimes. He's good after the catch, but there are times where like he'll drop it and he looks at his hands like, what happened? And it's like, dude, just catch the ball. Dalton Kincaid, I think, as a blocker, has shown me a lot more. That's been, going through the Twitter streets is Dalton Kincaid's evolution as a blocker. But again, I've yet to see that, like, get open from 5 to 8 yards in the soft zone, make a man miss, a linebacker miss, which was bread and butter in college, and get upfield and get those extra yards. So I think there's still some room for the Bills offense, their pass catchers, to evolve. And hopefully that can mesh as the season goes on. Joe Brady can figure that out, and they can complement that elite running game they have with a passing game that can beat you in more ways than just, moving the chains and moving the sticks. I want to see more from Palmer, Coleman, and Shakir. I agree with you, Jake. Through 7 quarters, I don't think we've seen enough. That fourth quarter has really made it look, I think, better than it has been.
Mike, do you share any of the same concerns? Now, we did have a large discussion last week about the passing game with Mike, and we got him real worked up. So I don't want Mike's blood pressure to get too high 2 weeks in a row. But it is just like, it's mostly, I don't know if I'm concerned as much, but I am just like flagging that it has looked slow in this game. Like they said, they were able to lead on the run game. Everything looks good. Maybe they just torched the Dolphins through the air this week, like Daniel Jones did a couple weeks ago. But where are you at with just what do you want to see? Do you think they need to change anything? Do you think it's just been matchup dependent? What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I definitely have some concerns. It's not anything really major at this point. I still got to see this defense like more than just one good performance against the Jets. But but we're not going to get a really good offense to really judge them against for several weeks here. So I guess Miami could still be halfway decent offensively, but we really don't know. It seems like they're in a free fall right now. And then you take on New Orleans, and it's New England. Maybe the Patriots can give them a little bit of a challenge. And then you got Atlanta. It seems like Carolina. This was my feeling before the season. The Baltimore game was going to be tough no matter what. They were going to struggle against them. It was probably going to be ugly, but they found a way to get the stops when they needed. They won the game. Then we're going to have the 6-game stretch where if they look bad against any of these teams, well, then that's not a good sign for the defense. But most likely, we know how things go with the Bills. They normally take care of the weak competition. So the Bills' defense is probably going to look halfway decent this next 5 weeks. And statistically speaking, they're probably going to be all right. I do think the run defense is a legitimate concern against multi-dimensional offenses. When they're playing a team like the Jets or the Browns, where they just run the ball with their star back like Breece Hall or Nick Chubb back in the day, like I don't worry about those run offenses. Those run offenses go off because they're volume based. They can score and they can do some things, but a lot of them are weak passing teams. I don't worry about what the Bills do run defense against weak passing teams. I worry about what the run defense is when they're playing a team that can mix things up, because those are the teams that can keep the Bills defense off kilter. They can mix things up. They have balance. I'm worried about the Bills defense against balanced, talented offenses, but we won't see that for a while. So I don't know how much of a takeaway I'll get out of that. And then offensively, I guess you could say slightly with the pass game, but like if we're being real, the concerns with the pass game, doesn't it feel like they could still turn it on at any moment? Like against the Ravens, they were struggling earlier, and yes, people said the Ravens started backing up, but the game was still within 2 scores, and when the Bills needed to do it, they got on fire and they threw for 250 yards in 1 quarter. My feeling against the Jets is, yes, they had a poor start passing the ball. They're a little bit off with their passing game, and then next thing you know, Josh completed like 5 in a row, 6 in a row, and they just didn't need to go back to it. There was no need. They were getting 5 yards a carry. They were carving up the Jets' defensive line. And this is the part about complementary football. We're going to have Carson join us here in a second. That I think Carson would agree with me, and people that played the game would agree with me. When you're playing a team and you feel like you're just dominating them on the ground, and you have a decent lead and your defense is playing well, you just don't feel the need to have to go through the air. You don't want to turn the ball over like that 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 4 when they ran the ball. Would I have done that? Probably not. But you know what Joe Brady's thinking there? We're kicking their ass. Like, they are not going to score against us. I don't even want to take the risk. Bad snap, interception, sack. Like, we're just going to run the ball, kick the field goal, and whatever. Like there's something to be said about how Kansas City has won championships the last couple years. Like, 2 years ago, they averaged 21.8 points a game. They weren't a good offense, but when the moment needed it, they could step up and make a play. And part of that is because they weren't having to show everything at every moment. They kept a lot back. They don't throw out everything unless they need to. And I think it's no coincidence that once the Bills became a more run-focused team, once they instilled that will in their offensive line, they go 13-4 last year. They win the last 5 games of the regular season the year before. Like, you go back to when Joe Brady became basically offensive coordinator, when they go on that 5-game winning streak, the Bills in the regular season are something like 19-3, not including that New England loss. So, like, for everybody that's like pass, what did passing get the Bills in the playoffs with Dable, with Ken Dorsey? It got them exits. And once they started running the ball, yes, they lost 2 times to the Chiefs, but those games were literally a coin flip away from going the other way. Just the teeniest margins. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, I love that they're playing this way. And I think this is how you get to that next level, because you have the ability to run if you need to. You have the ability to pass if you need to. and you still have a defense that's good enough to stop 70% of the defenses in the NFL.
Absolutely. Bringing in Carson here. Thank you for joining in, Carson. Great to see you here. Jump in here as we wrap up the Jets talk here, and before we get to anything with the Dolphins and everything else. Just what are your thoughts offensively? We were really talking about the passing game and if there are issues, if you're not worried about it, and just overall as the offense, like what has your thoughts been and what are your takeaways from 2 games that we've seen from this team so far?
Well, for starters, great to see you guys as well. It's thrilled 2-0. You can't ask for anything more than that, right? So as far as offense goes, it was just pure domination against the Jets. I'm sure you guys covered a lot of this. Bun, I heard what you were saying about the run game. When you're averaging, like 6 yards a pop and you have over 200 rushing yards as a team, why wouldn't you hand the ball off time after time? It's working. So it was nice to see the run game really take full form. Looks like that offensive line and their chemistry that they've had with all their guys returning this year is really paying off. Cook looked phenomenal. I mean, that 1 touchdown run, the long one, was just James Cook. That's why you pay him, right? Like he takes it to the outside. Once he goes, he's gone. No one's catching him. As far as the passing game, though, I'm not that concerned. You talked about it. Like we had a quarterback throw for more passing yards than half of the league in week 1 in the 4th quarter. So to me, it's not that big of a deal. We didn't have to pass to win the football game. We got up early. We ran the football. We took care of the football. That's all you have to do. And you can't beat yourself when you're up multiple scores like that against a team that's definitely way more inferior than you. So I thought they did what they had to do to get the job done. Defensively, I was thrilled. Bosa looked really, really good rushing the passer. Defensively, against the run, he's a little slow, but what are you going to do? And it was just a way better outing. You allow 154 yards, you're going to win probably 19 games out of 20 in that situation. So I was thrilled with the performance. Obviously, there's things to clean up. I thought, offensively, maybe passing game could have been a little bit better, but they got some talent in that secondary. So overall, thrilled with the win. I thought it was a A- game from the Bills, and they dominated, especially up front.
Yeah, the physicality was the biggest takeaway that I had. So let's get into some Dolphins talk here. Carson, is there anything we should be worried about with the Dolphins? Like wounded dog, like team coming in, are they going to fight for their coach? Like, is there anything? Do you see anything on tape from the last 2 weeks that gives the Bills pause? I mean, besides maybe the run game, we saw the stats going around. I'll start with you, and then we'll go around the horn here. Like, is there anything that you're particularly concerned for with the Dolphins game coming up?
Well, I think there's 2 things. The first thing is if you start 0-3, your season's in a roundabout way over. So I think they know the importance of this game. It's a divisional football game. They know us well. We know them well. It's not like the staffs have changed drastically for either team. Although Miami, if you lose a few games, that could happen, right? But I think that is important for them. I think they know what's at stake here, which is a little bit dangerous if you're a team that maybe isn't the Bills' caliber. I think the Bills, that's not something super to worry about. I think the latter is more important, though, that they still have dudes that can play the freaking game really well. Devin Achane is an absolute demon. It's not Tyreek Hill has shown that he can get the job done when the football comes his direction. He might be taking a little bit of a step back, but last week, very productive. Tua was efficient with the football. And then ultimately, their special teams had a punt return touchdown as well. I know they gave one up right back after, but they still have this explosiveness factor. It's not like that's just gone away. They're still one of the fastest teams in the league. And you look at the quarterback position, Tua, when he's hitting and the play designs are correct, he's more of a one-read type of guy, right? But when that one read's there, it's pretty damn hard to stop, especially when the run game with Achane and I know they got Ollie Gordon, a few other guys. If that's productive, that's when the Dolphins can be dangerous. So I think there are things to be concerned about. I think they have a higher potential than the Jets, to be honest with you. But, I mean, the Bills are in a position right now where they're going to have to lose it for the Dolphins to win this game. I don't think the Dolphins are as bad as they look. As the saying goes, you're never as bad as you look. You're never as good as you look. I don't think they're as bad as they look. They had a horrible week 1. They did show some signs of growth in week 2, but it's a big, big game for them. Not as big for the Bills, but still, if you want that number 1 seed, you got to put teams away like the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, just to, go off Carson's point. I did think Tyreek Hill had a bounce back week, and I think if Tua was a little bit more accurate with the football, he would have had an even bigger day.
Well, he just can't throw the ball that far.
Oh, I know. The one play that comes to mind, Tyreek Hill went off the field, and he was, you could just see the frustration. There was also frustration in week 1 against Indy, where they just, Tua his decision making was just so terrible. And he had a bad throw against Miami. He had a bad pick on that 4th down. And the thing with Tua is, and the thing that I think he struggles with, and besides his first read, is he can't make anyone miss in the pocket. If there's a free rusher at him, he's going to go down. He either runs backwards or he's taking a hard hit, and he doesn't have that ability to escape. But like Carson said, if he can get to his first read, he's a pretty good quarterback. I mean, he led the league in passing yards a few years ago. You saw the potential there with what he can do as a pure passer in the pocket if he has the protection. Now, the thing is the Dolphins, I just feel like mentally, I mean, does the offense believe in Tua at this point? Does the team believe in Mike McDaniel at this point? I think this is a very telling game for that because, like Carson said, 0-3, you got to play the Bills at least once again. You're going to have to play some tough games here coming up. I mean, that's a really big hole to get out of for a team that I think emotionally, mentally, the culture, we just haven't seen a lot of good things. The way, even the way like Xavier Howard talked about Tua in a recent interview when he played. He's on the Colts now. They played week 1. And he was just talking about Tua. And if you take away his first read, he's pretty, inconsistent and not efficient. So I think this Bills team knows, like, they just have the upper edge on Miami. I think the game could be closer than some people think. I do agree with Carson that there is some potential with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill that they can, threaten you. Devon Achane can really, especially on those outside handoffs, those outside, pitch plays. He has tortured the Bills in those, situations in years past where he can just get up the field so quick. He's got so much speed. So we'll see what this Dolphins offense brings. Defensively, I think the Bills should have a field day. Terrell Dotson is a starting linebacker for that team, which is all you really need to know, in my opinion. But, yeah, I think this Bills team, I agree with Carson. They're going to have to beat themselves, and the Dolphins are going to have to play one heck of a game offensively to keep up with the Bills offense. And it's all or nothing right now. We'll see how this Dolphins team fights for their head coach, and do they believe in Tua? There's a lot of questions there, but I think this Bills team is going to, again, take care of business on a short week. And I'll give my prediction later, but yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to see any fight for their head coach. I believe the players want him gone, to be honest with you. Now, like, they won't come outwardly and say that, but you just look at the way they behave on and off the field. This team is a joke. Like, the Dolphins are a complete joke. They have all the talent in the world, or had all the talent in the world, and their collapse from grace has been remarkable. A couple of years ago, it looked like they were ready to become one of the best teams in the NFL. And you think about it, the 1 year they had some bad luck with Tua getting concussed and having injuries late, and next thing you know, it's Skylar Thompson starting against the Bills in the playoffs, and they lose that game. The next year, they have a 2-3 game division lead late in the season, and it looks like they're about to get like a 2 or 3 seed, and they collapse in the last month of the season. Not only do they end up blowing the AFC East and then go on the road to play in chilly Kansas City, and they get their butts kicked. And ever since that point, it's like they forgot how to play football. And I think there's a lot of different reasons for what went on. I think McDaniel is one of the most intelligent football coaches in the game, but it's proof that when you are a leader of men, that men are more likely to listen and respect an alpha than someone that has his type of personality. And this is something that I think a lot of football nerds and analytics people don't understand. They love the route. They love the concepts, the routes, the numbers, all of that stuff. If the players don't respect you, you're not getting their best effort. And then it doesn't matter how much brains you have, because they're not going to do anything for you at full effort. You have players not showing up to practice on time. You have players not listening to what they're supposed to do off the field. Like the whole story about what was going on off the field last year, like it's blatant disrespect for their head coach, because they don't worry about him holding them accountable. And if they do, they're just going to blow him off and be like, you're some weird ass guy anyway. We don't care what you're going to do. So I think the players are disrespectful, but I also think their coach doesn't know how to rein them in and how to discipline them properly. And then you also have an offense that, unfortunately for them, has gotten figured out. When they first brought in Tyreek Hill and they had Achane and they had Waddle, they had so much speed. Nobody could keep up with them. Nobody had answers. But the thing that happens in the NFL, teams eventually adjust and they eventually find ways to slow you down. And the Bills, they were one of the first teams to kind of find a way to slow down the Dolphins. At first, it was mostly, let's just play contain and not let them get over the top. Well, for an offense that wants explosive plays and that's their entire identity, it frustrates them. That's why Tyreek Hill is going on podcasts saying he hates the Bills and thinks that they're lame because they don't let go man-to-man. It's like, dude, they don't go man-to-man because they know they're going to cook you. But you're obviously pissed off, which means whatever they're doing is actually pretty damn smart because you can't do what you want to do against them. So don't be complaining. Realize you have a flaw in your game to where when you're not making explosives, you're not helping out your team enough in other ways. And another big problem was that they had Tua as their quarterback. As great as he is for on time and accuracy, the deep stuff is just not there. When you have a team generated on speed, not having that velocity, not having that arm strength really kind of limits what you can do. And while he did have a great start to that period, if the Dolphins had a strong-armed quarterback like a Josh Allen or somebody like that, that team probably would have been Super Bowl caliber to win something else. They just didn't have the right quarterback at the time. And yes, Tua is good, but he's not great. And now that the rest of the league is kind of caught on to them, pair that with their dysfunction, they're out of answers. They don't know how to counter what teams have done against them. And they're bickering. They hate each other, and none of them want to play together. Tua hates Tyreek. Tyreek hates everybody. And you got a mess. Like when you're having a players only meeting after week one, like that's just proof. Like it's a fucking shit show. Pardon my French, but it's like it's a disaster. Like if the Bills lose to this team, they should be embarrassed because the Bills are the definition of everything you want in a team. United, one goal in mind, team above themselves. Like everything is about winning. The Dolphins, half those players could give a damn if they lose a game if they put up 150 yards and a touchdown. Like that's just the way it is. And I know I'm not in the locker room. Some people say that's ignorant. That's assuming things. You can see it. Like those guys are not about each other at all. So what's the line now? 11.5. It went down from 12.5. Maybe this game can be closer than what some people expect. There's no way the Bills should lose this game. If the Bills lose this game, something catastrophic went wrong this week. And then you also factor in it's a short week. They're going on the road. Like that, this is a lot of bad things. Like sure. In a row for Miami. 2-game losing streak. Like, you know what? If they wanted to have a chance, like maybe if it was a Sunday game, you fire the coach. That motivates them to play, and maybe they come out like recharged. Like you're going on a road. Like the only motivation they really have is like, let's try to upset the Bills. Like if you're Miami, you're not even feeling like playoffs are a possibility. Like you're going to have to go 10-7. Like, does anybody believe Miami's going to go 10-5 the rest of the way? Like it's not happening. It's going to be a long year for them and down in Florida.
It was a big red flag last year when McDaniel was talking about just trying to get players to meetings on time. Like not like showing up on time to a meeting is basically the easiest thing you could ask of a professional to do. And you can't even get that in line, and fines aren't working or whatever else you're trying. It does seem like a really like just a complete mess down there. And they do have, I think after this game, I'm pretty sure they play Monday night in the next game. So this is kind of like if you're going to fire a coach, that's the time you do it is they get blown out by the Bills, and then you get at least 10 days to set something else up. I'm with you guys. I don't see how this team comes out and is like, we need to save the coach's job or we need to do anything like that. It feels like, and even from the fan base, you can feel it the last couple of days. Like just usually there's been some spice to this Miami matchup. Even if they didn't feel like they had a chance in these games, there was at least some, back and forth and everything. It's just been despair. Like that's the best way to say it. They did have a chance at the strong arm quarterback, and they keep posting about him too. Justin Herbert's looking pretty damn good right now with the right coach and the right system around him. And it's just it's how the league works sometimes, the duality of it all. AJ, you got something that looks like you wanted to jump in here.
No, I'm just
all
listening.
I was going to
You're all
say.
convincing me that I'm going to pick. It's not going to be close. We'll get to it.
The Dolphins want their coach fired. Let's just say it for what it is. Like, everybody in Miami is just counting down until Mike McDaniel is no longer there. And it's an uncomfortable feeling for everybody. That's why fans aren't talking, because they hate the team right now. Like, they bought in that this team was special, that this team had the ability, the quarterback, to take down the Bills in the AFC East the last 2 or 3 years. And they came so close only for it to fall short. And it's been nothing but despair since that point. They're just done with the experiment. They don't want to see McDaniel on the sidelines. They want to move on from Tyreek Hill. The fans are tired of it. The team knows they're not going anywhere. And you're in this shit period where you're like, let's say lame duck period, where you have all the guys from the teams that were successful a couple years ago, but it's not going to nothing's going to change. And that's why Tyreek wanted traded after the end of last season, because he saw it and he knew it was going to go bad, but they talked him into being a good guy and don't worry, we're going to have a good offseason. We'll figure it out. And they haven't. And I guarantee you, if we thought it was bad with Stephon Diggs, at least the Bills were winning at a high level when Stephon Diggs was in Buffalo. Tyreek Hill is ready to just explode down there. And I swear we might see an Antonio Brown moment at some point down in Miami. Like we might see an Antonio Brown, like a Terrell.
I hope it happens on Thursday. That'd be electric.
If the Bills are up like 28-3 and Tyreek Hill has like 1 catch on 5 targets for like 11 yards, he's gonna. I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything, but it's not gonna be good.
Culture is terrible down there. You guys are right. When the culture is terrible, you don't win many football games. So I think you guys hit it on the head, though. Like, when your coach is back against the wall and you kind of feel that pressure, you'd want to play for him, but it doesn't really seem quite that way in a short week like this and on the road. Like we previously mentioned, that's a really, really tough task to overcome. So we'll have to see, though. Yeah, that's why you play the games. But everything adds up to a Bills victory by a considerable margin. But you never know. You never know. 1 or 2 bad plays, flukes, Miami's right in the football game. So I think you got to come out strong, put them away early, and then take it from there, just like the Jets game.
Just don't choke against Will Levis at home. I think that's that's when that was the ultimate.
Yeah, that was bad.
That game was unreal. Yeah, just if you're a team that's having success and you don't want to go down a bad path, just don't choke to Will Levis at home. I think you'll be okay. But yeah, that was a turning point.
Doesn't even have a starting job anymore in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, Titans are a disaster. So
they are.
Tough scene. Let's save predictions for the very end, and let's Carson. Just the rest of the AFC in general. I mean, we talked about the Chiefs a little bit earlier and just where they're at. We know what the Ravens look like and where they're going to be. They're the betting odds favorites still in the AFC, ahead of the Bills a little bit, even with the head-to-head. But just the look at the division, we saw the Jets last week. That Dolphins-Patriots game was an exciting game, but mostly just 2 bad teams going at it. The Burrow injury obviously has a big impact. Steelers aren't looking good. Like, you got to be feeling pretty good about the chances for the 1 seed, and just the state. Like, it's been like, unlike years past, feels like the NFC is the tougher team at the top, where the AFC is going to be a little bit lesser. At least that's my read early. But how are you feeling about just the state of the conference in general as the Bills look to seal that 1 seed up for the first time?
100%. I mean, I took part of AJ's tweet the other day, but I didn't see it, so I didn't steal it. But I also added my own stuff.
Own up to it, man.
Anyway, the Bills' next 7 opponents are 2-12. I mean, come on. We're 2 weeks into the year, so it's not necessarily as bad as that looks. But still, that is a crazy stat. I keep going back to AJ's point because it was such a good point week 1. To be able to win that game and say, okay, we're 1-0 and we have the lighter schedule coming up, that's so huge. So, and all the exterior factors, too, have pretty much gone everything to the Bills' way. Unfortunately, Burrow has the injury. He's probably done for maybe the year, depending on how the year goes, at least 3 weeks, 3 months. So that's terrible for them. The division still blows, which is a good sign for the Bills and clinching another AFC East title. The Chiefs slow start. Chargers are a little worrisome. I think they're pretty good, but they're not the Bills caliber. Texans they've fallen off. CJ Stroud's fallen off big time. And then you have the Ravens, right? They're still favored. That's fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, the Bills won week 1. They have the tiebreaker over them as it stands right now, and they have a better record. So with the Chiefs, I'm not ready to rule them out yet at all. I know we had a little bit of a text in the group chat a few days ago about them. They have had slow starts in the past and have really turned up as the seasons went on there. So we'll have to see with them. But I don't know if they're that number 1 seed caliber compared to years past. But right now, if you're a Bills fan, you got to be thrilled with how the team is playing first and foremost. And secondly, everything around them seemed to be going right. And that's really the one thing the Bills haven't had ever since they decided to make the 1 seed the only seed that gets the bye. If there's one thing that you could say, well, hey, the playoff failures we haven't given a look at yet, it's the number 1 seed. If they get that, you never know what happens. Having that 1 week off is extremely beneficial, and past Super Bowl teams can definitely attest to that, and so will the numbers.
Yeah. No, I think you're still going to be looking at the Ravens and Chiefs down the stretch. I know we did have this conversation in the group chat. I do think, and I know there are issues beyond, I still don't like the Chiefs running back room. I think they have a lot of concerns there. Mahomes is leading the team in rushing right now. I think Pacheco, 7th round pick, I thought he came onto the scene quick, but I don't think obviously he's not explosive. Yeah. But he hasn't really been doing much, and add that to a below average offensive line, or at least an average offensive line in Kansas City. I think they're just struggling with protecting Pat Mahomes and also just running the football. So I think that's a concern. But I do think when Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice come back, that's a whole different offense. Those are 2 players that I think are dynamic, and I think that's probably the most like a Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't really I don't think he's anything at this point. He was lucky to even be on a roster. The Chiefs kind of grabbed him after no one else wanted him. And I think that Travis Kelce, although he did show some juice in that Eagles game. He made some plays. He did have the big drop, but I thought he still played well. I think that'll help with Travis Kelce with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy back on the field. So I think those 2 players will help the Chiefs, and they'll be back, I believe, by that week 8 matchup. Yep. Against the Chiefs. The Bills play them. So I think that'll be an interesting test for that Bills defense against those 2 guys being back. But you look around the AFC, Carson already mentioned it. The Houston Texans, they have a great pass rush. Their defenses look good, but their offense, besides, Nico Collins, who they've also struggled to get the ball to, and I think has also been underwhelming. And a Nick Chubb that's, got some juice, but he's not the same player he once was. They have a lot of concerns compared that with a, offensive line that's struggling, and a CJ Stroud who's just not. I think he's got a little bit of like Justin Fields, like he struggles reading the field sometimes, and he doesn't get rid of the ball quick enough. So they have concerns. The Indianapolis Colts are a dark horse team to watch. Now, will they keep it up with the Daniel Jones? I don't know, but I really like what they have with Jonathan Taylor. They have good weapons. Tyler Warren's been great for them as a tight end rookie out of Penn State. I like Pittman. I like Alec Pierce as a downfield threat. Josh Downs is great in the slot. Adonai Mitchell. So they have a lot of pieces there. I actually like what they've composed in Indy. And if Daniel Jones can keep that up, they are a team that, like, if the Bills were to get in the second round or they don't get the 1 seed and they see in the wild card, that is a tougher team, but I don't really think they're that much of a threat at this point. Baltimore is the team, obviously, we all talk about. Cincy, Jake Browning, what's he going to be? What's he going to look like? I thought he played well in the big moments, but Mike did mention, and I do know that he did have some turnovers in that game that really hurt them. And they're playing a Jacksonville team where Trevor Lawrence just still seems like lost at times. Yeah. Brian Thomas Jr. really isn't doing much. So overall, I think this AFC is a lot weaker, but I think you're going to see a better Chiefs team down the stretch, like usual. They've been here, they've been in this situation, and I think that Andy Reid and Spagnuolo, they're very well coached. Pat Mahomes is one of the greatest in the bright moments, so I think they're going to be okay. And then the Ravens, so I think you're narrowing it down to those 3. But like Carson said, the Bills are in a great spot. The AFC is struggling. I didn't mention the Chargers as well. I love them. I think they are well coached defensively. I love Quentin Johnson, Ladd McConkey, and Keenan Allen. I think that's probably one of the best wide receiver trios in football. So we'll see. But there's a lot of teams, but I really think there are only a couple. Maybe throw the Chargers in there that can really compete with the Bills in January. So it's going to be a fun ride for sure.
Mike's got I've never seen Mike with the pen.
I'm just writing down some notes so I can have talking points for the next Pay the Bills podcast, because I think AJ just went through the entire AFC for me right there.
Sorry.
Thanks, bud. I love when AJ talks about receivers, because I disagree with him almost all the time on receiver play. And like we talking about like Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, like they're going to dramatically change this Chiefs offenses. It's something, man. Like I agree with you on most things, but I just don't agree with you on that with the Chiefs.
We'll see.
We'll see. Like, yeah, maybe they'll score like 2 more points a game. They'll go from like 21 to 23. Cool. Like then their defense still needs to get the job done. Like the Chiefs' problem isn't like just weapons. It's the offensive line isn't protecting for Mahomes. Their running game isn't there. Their defense had 2 incredible seasons back to back. And then they also had an incredible string of luck in 1-score games. Yes, credit to them for winning them, but like unsustainable luck. Like to go 11-1 and now they're already 0-2. Like it's not sustainable. Like in the numbers, in the math. Like yes, Rashee Rice is a great receiver and he's gonna put up a lot of numbers when he comes back. Yes, Xavier Worthy is dynamic and like they'll help out when they come back. But like going back to Carson, who played quarterback, like let's be real, like he's still playing with NFL receivers. Like Josh Allen had one of the worst groups of receivers I've ever seen in the NFL last year. And the Bills put up 30.9 points a game because they had a good run game. They had a good offensive line. They found other ways to be effective. This is not just a random 2-game sample of like the Chiefs suddenly can't move the ball. They averaged 22.6 points a game last year with Xavier Worthy healthy the whole year. That's 8 points less per game than the Bills, with Mac Hollins being a contributor, with a rookie Keon Coleman getting 29 catches, with Khalil Shakir being forced to be a number 1 receiver, and Dalton Kincaid playing hurt, and Dawson Knox knowing not how to catch a football, and like yet the Bills average 8 points a game more than them. And then you look the year before, the Chiefs averaged 21.8 points a game with a healthy Rashee Rice. Like we've been talking about this for a while. The fact of it is, I think we need to start having a conversation. Andy Reid is one of the best head coaches in NFL history, and he finds a way to win, and I give him credit. But we've talked too much about his offensive mastermind part, when what we really should be giving credit for the Chiefs the last 2 years is Steve Spagnuolo being an amazing defensive coordinator who has won them all of these games for the most part. Yes, Mahomes can make great plays at any moment, but let's be real. In the NFL, you got to be this good at receiver just to make it there. Like you're the worst NFL receiver would be a star at 90% of colleges across the country. Like the difference between Xavier Worthy and like NFL caliber receiver, it might be this. Like, and then Rashee Rice, it might be like that. Like, yes, those guys are going to make a difference. But if you go wins above replacement, like that's not like Xavier Worthy ain't worth a win in any wins above replacement metric. Like Rashee Rice might be worth like half a win. So just because the Chiefs suddenly get them back doesn't mean the Chiefs are going to be suddenly putting up 27, 28 points a game. They can't score against average defenses. The only team they kill is the Bills because we're screwed by bad luck in an Indian burial ground at our stadium. Like, but in
the Indian burial ground doesn't help. That's for sure.
That's the biggest reason why they haven't won yet. But the point of it being like I'm not giving up on the Chiefs. I still think they're a good team. They're still going to make the playoffs. And when they make the playoffs, they're going to be a threat. But let's not say like, well, they're going to be good when Xavier Worthy and like Rashee Rice come back. That's not going to be the big difference maker. The difference maker is going to be, can they start running the ball more effectively? Can they protect Mahomes? This is a 3-game losing streak. And I know 2 of them are against the Eagles, and the other one is against a good Chargers team too. The Chiefs didn't lose 3 games in a row in the past. This is a hole in their dynamic, and they can figure it out. They can fix it. But even in the greatest dynasties in NFL history, they go through periods where they fall apart, where they're not as good as what they once were. The Patriots were great for 3 years, won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years with Brady. And then they went a decade where they didn't win any. Yes, they went to the AFC Championship all those years, but they didn't win one. I think the Chiefs are still a threat in the playoffs. I still think they're going to be very dangerous. But you look at it at 0-2 with their schedule facing the Ravens in 2 weeks, playing the Lions in 4 weeks, playing the Commanders, playing the Bills. If they say they lose 2 of those games, so two of those 4 games, that's 4 losses. You still have to play the Chargers again. You still have to play the Broncos twice. Like, there's a realistic possibility this Chiefs team could lose 5 to 7 games this year. And if they do, they're not going to be a 2 or a 3 seed. They're going to be lucky to be a 3 or a 4. Maybe they're going to be a 5. And that changes the entire path to the playoffs. Could you imagine in a divisional round, the Chiefs are playing on the road at Baltimore just to come to Buffalo in the AFC Championship because the Bills are playing
lovely.
because the Bills are playing the Texans or the Colts.
Please.
Like, the Chiefs get to all these games because they play teams like the Texans in the divisional round. While we're like struggling to hold on against like a Ravens team and Derrick Henry, the Chiefs are like, oh yeah, like we can just hold this team to 20 points and we don't even need to show any shit and we'll be fine. We're gonna win. Like, the Chiefs are playing the divisional round opponents, like the Bills are playing the Jets week 2 of the season. Like, that's how and everybody's like, well, why does the Texans defense only score? Pardon, I'm butchering this horribly. People are always like, why does Kansas City only score 23 points or whatever against the Texans in the divisional round? Because they know the Texans can't score more than 17 points against them. So they're not throwing everything at it. They need it for the Bills. They're going to be in a shootout against the Bills.
Yeah.
So, like, it's all situational. It's all different, like, game plans for different opponents. The Bills are going up against the Ravens. They're like, shit, if we don't score 30, we're going to get our ass kicked. Like, so, like,
But that's what this week for the Chiefs is very interesting because it's a should be a winnable game on the road against the Giants. But the Giants, I mean, I thought the Giants defense was going to look better week 1. I don't think this Chiefs offense has the firepower that the Cowboys offense has, especially at home. And if the physicality, especially against that, the way that.
What if the Giants win? What do we say then? Like, then we're going against Baltimore.
But then I'm getting rid of them.
At that point,
I'm forking them.
Like, this is what I'm saying. Like,
14-3.
but this is kind of what I'm saying. Like, everybody's like, oh, it's too early to put a fork in them. I'm not putting a knife or a fork or whatever in them. I'm just saying they are not the same caliber team as they have been. And even the last 2 years, they weren't the same caliber team. And what they had was a great defense. And that doesn't translate every single year.
Yeah.
I respect Baltimore. I think Baltimore is honestly still the best team in the AFC.
It's probably Baltimore and the Buffalo and everybody else because the Chiefs are going to have in that division. The division has raised to their level too. And
Browning,
the Chargers,
Browning playing for the Bengals actually kind of hurts for the Bills a little bit in this scenario. God, Chris, I wish your son was as smart as you. Amazing analysis. I respect you so much, man. Like, I wish you were sitting in this bottom right corner right now talking football with you because
he wouldn't say that. He thinks he thinks Worthy and Rice are going to bring.
No. AJ's tweeting about texting about trying to increase my blood pressure. He's trying to kill me.
It's working.
AJ's trying to kill me, so I have a heart attack on this show. But Chris, I respect that. That's a smart father right there. But my final point will be this: the Bengals without Burrow, like, you can basically count them out right now. Maybe they can still make the playoffs with Browning. They're not a title threat anymore. The Steelers, I thought they were going to be decent with Rodgers, but it looks like that defense is taking steps backwards. The Browns are a joke. You look at the rest of the AFC East, that's a joke. You go to the AFC South, the Texans are taking a step back. It looks like the Colts are the team. Maybe the Jags are halfway decent, but those aren't none of those teams are title threats. You go to the AFC West, maybe the Chargers step into that relevant category. Maybe Denver can be like a tough team, but Denver, Bo Nix has been one of the worst graded quarterbacks through 2 weeks. So, like, you're really looking at an AFC right now where the Chiefs are already putting themselves in a hole. They have a tough schedule. They're going to lose too many games to be in the 1 seed competition. The Ravens, you have the tiebreaker over already. And then you have the easiest stretch of games to start the season that the Bills have had during the Josh Allen era. And then all the toughest games are at home. And one of those tough games is the Bengals is now Jake Browning. And the Texans is a road game, and Texans don't look that good. Like, if you look at everything for what it is face value, I know people are going to say it's too early. I'm not saying the Bills are going to get the 1 seed, but if you just break down everything, this is the Bills' best shot of getting a 1 seed. And to call them the favorites in the AFC right now is not an exaggeration, because every single data point / situational thing that has happened through 2 weeks is on their side. So realistically, Buffalo, get the 1 seed, or you should be embarrassed by yourself, because you have no reason not to. Baltimore has to win 1 more game than you, unless they get a fluky 3-way tiebreaker. So Bills, if you get 13-4, you've done it 3 of the last 5 years. Baltimore's going to have to go 14-3 to get the 1 seed over you. And to do that, Baltimore would have to go 13-2 the rest of the way. Can they do it? Absolutely. Are they likely to do it? No. Also, check the over-under for the Bills right now. It's now up to 13.5.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man.
15-2 in play, boys.
Yeah, Mike's going to be 12-5. His
15-2
prediction. He's going to
play.
be 3 off again for
AJ,
back-to-back year.
I would love to be. I would love to be off, but I'll end it like this: every data point, every metric, everything that matters, and I'm good at this shit. And I'll remind everybody I am. Points to the Bills being the AFC top seed come playoff time.
Is that bias for himself?
No, that's
what we're turning it into.
Carson, I still have some decision making on this show. If you want to be on it, watch it. I'm joking.
Well, speaking of, I got to bounce. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I'll be back.
Okay. Well, we will get back to Carson. He'll be last on the predictions here, because let's get into our predictions. And let's get out of here. I don't know how long he's going to be gone for, but we're going to wrap up here in the last couple minutes. I'll start off the predictions. I think I picked a blowout last week. Felt pretty good about it. I was 1 point. I haven't got my scores right, even close, but I had a 1 point Bills win. They won by 1 point week 1. I had a 28-point Bills win. They won by 27. So I'm right on the point differential for the Bills this year. I've got the Bills winning 41-7 on Thursday night against the Dolphins. I think this is over for Mike McDaniel. This is over for the Dolphins. Put a fork in them, and I think the Bills are just going to run the score up, and we'll probably see Mitchell Trubisky again at like the 12-minute mark of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bills 35-17. I like the Bills in this matchup. I think again until they don't score 30 points. I mean, I don't know why I would ever predict, unless you're going against Kansas City. I don't know why I would ever predict them not scoring 30. So I'm going to go Bills 35, Dolphins 17. I think this Bills offense is going to have success. I think the Dolphins, like Jake just said, I think they're just so mentally drained and worn out. And I think they need change. And I think they need to hit rock bottom here in order for those changes to be made. And I think this will be rock bottom on Thursday night for the Miami Dolphins in the Tua and Mike McDaniel tenure. So give me the Bills 35-17. Josh Allen lights it up like he always does. James Cook does what he does. And the defense gets a couple Tua turnabolovas defensively, and the Bills advance to 3-0.
I got to think. I haven't put this together yet. Normally I look at the Vegas line. It's 11.5 right now. Over under is 49.5. I'm trying to think of what type of score that would be saying.
Well, I had the under right there.
So that's
I love that.
That's like saying 30-19, really. I'll be real, I give you all the credit in the world, Jake. You've been spot on with your picks. I have not been close with the spreads right now. Shout out William Matar, doing a great job.
Yeah,
with picks as well.
Yeah, he's on fire, man.
I don't know why we just don't have William Matar making these picks. He's doing a way better job than I am. I'm 0-2 against the spread so far with the Bills this season. So I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Honestly, if you're watching the show, there's no point you even listening to what I'm about to say. I'm gonna be off. And this line 11.5, it feels light to me. And normally I have a rule, if it's 10 or over, I don't pick the cover. I just don't think this Dolphins team is inspired. It's a short week. I personally think they could fire McDaniel if they got their asses kicked this week. I'm really feeling something 35-17. I liked what your dad picked here. I'm gonna know it. Tim's a smart guy. Your dad coached football. Wait, is that what you said, AJ?
That's what AJ. Yeah. So we got 3 for 35-17.
Oh, that'll be a fun graphic.
Crap!
They win by 3. We're all gonna pick blowouts.
No, I really respect him.
Carson, you better pick a close game, dude. Please.
I'm pissed. I'm pissed that you just said that score.
I'm I'm going 31-17. I can't have the same pick.
Okay.
Well,
I respect your pick. You're probably going to be right, but I just can't go with AJ on this.
Well, hey, we covered the
Carson.
Dolphins enough. They're a dumpster fire at this point in time. Culture's okay, bud. Tim, put a pin in it, would you? We'll see here what happens. I do think Miami's going to come out strong. I think we've discredited them a lot, but the Bills are the better team. The culture's better. You get ahead of them a touchdown, 10, 14 points. They're going to fall apart a little bit. Give me the Bills 34-17.
Okay. So we got the Dolphins. If the Dolphins don't score 17 points, guys, should we put a bet on that? Can we put an exact score bet for the Dolphins?
You know what's going to happen? The Dolphins are going to cover, and it's going to be like a 10-point win for the Bills. And I'm gonna be like saying, well, Vegas told you, and I'm just going to.
It's going to be, I think it's more likely it's like 55-10 or something like that than it is the Dolphins covering. So, but we'll see. All right. We paid the bills. Shout out to our sponsor, Picasso's Pizza. Get your Picasso's Pizza anywhere nationwide and in Western New York at picassospizza.net. Thank you, Carson. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Mike, for joining along. This is Jake Micah. We are all set. We'll be back here next Tuesday to break down the Thursday night matchup over the Dolphins and preview the matchup against the Saints. Have a great night, folks. Go Bills.